And off we go at Wrigley, and the first pitch is low for a ball. Home plate umpire is Angel Hernandez. He will also be at the All-Star game. Joined by Randy Marsh, the crew chief at first, Marvin Hudson at second, and Lance Barksdale over at third. Here's a 1-0 from Lilly. Ball and a strike. Cardinals start the day 48-40. They're 7-3 in their last 10 games, and the Cubs are now under 500, 4.5 games out in the Central. Strike two. So it's Brendan Ryan now. It's Colby Rasmus on deck, and then Albert Pujols in that familiar number 3 spot. Infield, outfield, straight away, and a 1-2 pitch is popped into shallow right. Easy for Milton Bradley. He's there, and that's the way we begin. On an 80-degree day at Wrigley, a fly ball to right, and Ted Lilly is one of the few left-handed starters to be named to an All-Star team in Cub history, and the first since Dick Ellsworth back in 1964.
Dick Ellsworth used to toil at this stadium when they were drawing 4,000 and 5,000 people a game. We've used that number before. In 1966, the Cubs drew about 680,000 people, which was less than they drew in 1906. Staggering.
It is. And then when you think about where this franchise is and the potential sale and what this franchise is worth, franchise that sold for just over $20 million in 1981. And now you're talking about having to cough up or finance about $1 billion to get your hands on this beautiful stadium, this organization, and then 25% of a television network. 1 ball, 1 strike on Colby Rasmus. And the next from Ted Lilly is slapped at and fouled, strike 2.
Chicago Cubs were sold back in 1981, as Joe said. That was the same year that the Philadelphia Phillies were sold to the Bill Giles group. And there is the man on deck, and I mean, he has been the man. Oof.
Here is a 1-2 pitch from Lilly. That's in the dirt. And when you say the man, there was also somebody known as the Man who wore a Cardinal uniform, and he was nicknamed that up in New York, and that's Stan the Man, who at 88 will be honored before the 80th All-Star game on Tuesday night in St. Louis. 1 out, nobody on. A 2-2 pitch is grounded to the right side. That's easy on a high hop for Baker, and that's out number 2. That means that Ted Lilly has the good fortune of facing Albert Pujols with the bases empty. We showed you these numbers during the open, and Pujols gets a big reaction, good and bad, here between the Cardinal and Cub fans. But this season he leads the big leagues in home runs, RBIs, runs, slugging percentage, and walk.
And if you're shaking your head at home, we understand.
Here is a first one to Pujols, and it's high and tight, ball 1. The outfield couldn't be any deeper.
Unless they had a ticket.
I mean, without being ridiculous. Here's a 1-0 pitch. On the outside part, of ball and a strike. Meanwhile, Jose Oquendo, the third base coach, former infielder for the Cardinals and Mets, is beyond the third baseman Aramis Ramirez. The 1-1 pitch. And that one's down toward the end of the bat. Will it carry? Soriano back and has room to end the inning. Another thrill with a big swing from Albert Pujols. Some came to their feet as Soriano hauled it in. Cards go in order in the first. The Cubs starting lineup brought to you by Taco Bell. Think outside the bun. Fukudome leads it off. He is digging in as we speak. Theriot bats second. Derek Lee hits third. Aramis Ramirez is back. Came back on Monday. Soriano is in the 5 spot. Milton Bradley, Jeff Baker, Coy Hill, and then Ted Lilly. The pitcher batting 9th. Here is Fukudome. First pitch swinging. That's a foul ball, strike 1. Since we last were watching the Cubs, now the Cardinals are arguing that that ball did not hit the leg of Fukudome, and they're asking to appeal to the first base umpire Randy Marsh. Now La Russa will go out. The Cardinals think it should be out number 1, and right now it's strike number 1.
You know what? Molina was the first one who called attention to this, and the reason was Fukudome did not run. I don't think it hit his foot. I think the Cubs got a break there. But, I mean, normally, if you're hit, then you're going to feel it and you're going to start limping. And that's the best gauge for a home plate umpire. But he called it right away, saying that it hit his foot. It didn't appear to. But Molina picked up on that right away.
So it is strike 1. And I was starting to talk about the change in the lineup. There's strike 2 with the Cubs. And finally, the move has happened where Alfonso Soriano has been moved down in this lineup. And Lou Piniella has inserted Fukudome, who has hit .400 in this leadoff spot, doing it for the 6th time now. As he checks his swing, he went. And that's the way the bottom of the first inning begins, with a Brad Thompson strikeout.
Looked like a breaking ball out of the strike zone, and Fukudome bit.
So Fukudome is retired, and the number 2 hitter is Ryan Theriot. Here are the numbers, or it looked like we were going to get the numbers on Brad Thompson, who is 2-5 and is kind of a Mr. Everything on this staff for the Cardinals. There's a strike. Cardinals will get Kyle Loesch back in their rotation tomorrow. They'll pitch the opener of a day-night doubleheader, and when that happens, shuffling takes place in the Cardinal rotation, and you would think that the man on the mound will be moved out of the starting 5. There's one up and in the count 2-1. Derek Lee on deck. Theriot is hitting .294, batting the number 2 spot, and he takes outside 3-1.
As is common now with major league teams, they use their AAA affiliate as almost an expansion of the roster, and nobody does it better than the Cardinals.
That's inside, and that's ball 4. Tell us a little more about this right-hander, Brad Thompson, who's 27.
Excuse me, Joey. He has not won at Wrigley Field, and Dave Duncan, the pitching coach, said anything over 5 innings. If they can get anything over 5 innings from Brad Thompson, that would be a luxury. And the bullpen is strong. Everybody ready for Tony La Russa and Dave Duncan this afternoon.
In fact, the Cardinals have added to it, bringing up P.J. Walters for the 3rd time this season and sending out Brian Barton. So they added another arm to their bullpen in case Thompson doesn't have it here today. Derek Lee's been hot, and his numbers have been getting better after a very poor April. Homered here yesterday with a shot out to right center field. Thompson falls behind 2-0. Lee hit only .189 during April. He's hit .313 since. Should get something to hammer right here. Instead, a check on Theriot, who's stolen 10, been caught 5 times. That's to third and foul. Two balls and a strike on the Cub first baseman. This 3-4 combination is the combo that's supposed to carry this Cub lineup, and they finally have their number 4 man back in Aramis Ramirez, who returned on Monday. He's next. Here's a 2-1. That's down and away. Ken Rosenthal is with us. Ken, did Lee start to have any doubts after that dismal April?
He did, Joe, and he told me yesterday that the doubts do start to creep in when you're hitting 194 on May 15th. But ultimately, he said, listen, I've got a track record. I know how the game works, and he felt that it was eventually going to turn.
Theriot goes, and a fly ball into right. Back is Ludwig in front of the ivy, makes the catch, and back to first is Theriot, 2 out.
Right into the teeth of that wind blowing in from the left field. Of course, it shifted. Joe, you were just saying 3 minutes ago, no wind today, and sure enough, it's kicked up from the right field line to left field. Normally, that ball is flirtable with a home run.
So with 1 on 2 out, here is Aramis Ramirez, who overall is hitting .341. And who is a big presence back in this lineup for Lou Piniella. Dislocating his left shoulder on a dive in early May. On the DL. Got healthy. Back this last Monday. Waits for a 1-0 pitch. 2-0 from Thompson, who's fallen behind each of the last 3 hitters.
You could see Molina pointing to his left shoulder. Pitchers fly out of there just like hitters do, the front side, and Molina reminding Thompson to keep that left shoulder closed.
A 1-out walk to Theriot. Lee flied to basically the wall in right. And now the 2-0 to Ramirez. That is into left field. It'll fall for a base hit, and it's 2 on with 2 out for Chicago. And it falls into the lap of Alfonso Soriano to try to give Chicago a first-inning lead.
We do not have a statistic for this, but I would venture that Alfonso Soriano swings at more bad balls than any major league hitter. In fact, pitchers just start him off out of the strike zone, almost knowing that he'll go after it, breaking balls away.
A player who is in year 3 of an 8-year, $136 million contract, and who is hitting just .231, a 7-time All-Star, but really has had a poor year. That's too far inside. Again, Thompson falls behind. It's 2-0. The 2-0. In for a strike, 2-1.
I think Alfonso thought that ball was low, but he did not get the call. Close.
2 on with 2 out, 2 balls and 1 strike on Soriano. 3-1. And if Soriano is struggling, the guy on deck has struggled even more. Milton Bradley. Time called at the plate. Soriano sat 3 times during a recent 8-game stretch, trying to clear his head. 3-1 pitch is in for a strike. Full count.
That 2-0 pitch could have been low. This breaking ball on the 3-1 count looked like a strike. That was low enough.
Soriano was fooled more on the pitch than the location.
Yeah.
3-1 curveball. Now a 3-2 pitch is inside, and that loads him up. 2 walks and a single. And Brad Thompson is right into trouble in the first inning, and Milton Bradley will get the chance. Molina will go out and talk. The numbers overall are bad enough. But then when you look at what Bradley has done, a switch hitter batting left-handed, hitting only 189, which is one of the big reasons why the Cubs went out and got him after a good season last year with Texas when he hit 321. But he is all out of whack, the Cubs say, with the lower half of his body being out of sync with the upper half of his body, batting from this side of the plate. Bases loaded, 2 out. Strike 1 on the inside corner. Strike 2 on the outside corner. These Cub fans will let Bradley hear it if he doesn't come through here with the bases loaded first inning chance. He has not taken a swing yet. And he gets hit to make it 1-0 Chicago. Bradley will take it any way he can get it, and that forces home the first run of the day.
Sometimes that waste pitch with the count 0-2, overrated. First 2 pitches strikes. The 0-2 pitch hits Bradley in the right thigh, and the Cubs are on the board.
And now Jeff Baker could make this a big first inning for Chicago. Picked up July 2nd from Colorado. After the first pitch, and he fouls it. Strike 1. Two walks and a hit batsman here in the inning for Brad Thompson, who is struggling to find his release point and throw strikes. Here's the 0-1. Line drive into center's a base hit. That'll score a couple. Going to third is Bradley. It's 3-0 Chicago.
Brad Thompson wild in hitting Milton Bradley, and now wild in the strike zone and pitching to Jeff Baker, as Baker singles up the middle. So the formula not right for Thompson in this inning. Pitch right down the pipe.
First and third, 2 out. A chance for more. Coy Hill takes the ball. Cardinals have 2 guys in their bullpen who would qualify as long relievers today. Blake Hawksworth and the recently recalled P.J. Walters, who got to the park about 2 hours before game time. Here's a 1-0. First and third, 2 out, and a ground ball up the middle. Nice play by Hoffpower to save a run and end the inning. But a good inning for the Cubs as they are handed 2 walks, a hit batsman, scored 3, and lead 3-0 after 1 at Wrigley. Is sponsored by Progressive Insurance, the freedom to name your price, by Avodart, and by Hyundai. Now Hyundai Assurance can even lower your price at the pump. Good start for Chicago. They have a 3-0 lead, and they have it for their all-star Ted Lilly, who misses inside. Ball 1 to Ryan Ludwig. Ludwig spent time on the disabled list with a bad hamstring and really struggled with his bat up until the last couple of weeks, and he's now gotten hot after a big year last season. Here's the 1-1. Wow, got away from Lilly. 2 balls and a strike.
Ryan Ludwig turns 31 on Monday. That ball way up and away. But you mentioned the all-star Ted Lilly, and last year's all-star for the first time, Ryan Ludwig, and nobody in that visiting Yankee clubhouse last year was any happier than Ryan Ludwig.
What a rip that was for a guy who hit .299 last season, but 37 home runs. After being what was once known as basically a 4A outfielder, never really had a chance to show what he could do regularly, and made the most of it last season. Now he rips one into left center field, and that ball is caught by Fukudome. So while we play here at Wrigley, we take you out to the West Coast in a DirecTV game break, and it's Alex Rodriguez off Jared Weaver in the first into left center field. That home run scores Johnny Damon. 16th home run of the season for A-Rod, and a 2-0 Yankee lead in the top of the second. Last night the Yankees led 4-0, 5-2, but Jabba Chamberlain again couldn't get through 5 innings, and eventually the Yankees lost that lead and lost the ball game to the Angels. Stavanoa takes a strike, and it's 0-2. The next with 1 out is up and around the strike zone, ball 1. Ted Lilly was an all-star when he was with Toronto in 2004. And now he's headed back here in 09 with the Cubs. A 1-2. Into left field, Soriano. Barely had to move. 2 out.
Until he caught it. That's Alfonso style, that little hop that Cub fans have gotten used to. There it is.
That's all well and fine until you drop fly balls like he did yesterday. He's made 7 errors out in left field this year.
That's a lot. That's a ton for a left fielder.
Here is Yadier Molina. And strike 1. Do you think Yadier Molina forgets the collision these two had last year in September? Ted Lilly base running, a play at the plate, and here's the Cub pitcher just barreling through Yadier Molina. It was significant as ball 1 misses from Lilly, because at that point the Cubs had been struggling. They ended up going on a great 9-win 2-loss run and clinched the division, their second division title in a row under Lou Piniella last season. Up and in. 2 balls and a strike. Kenny, the Cardinals and Tony La Russa, they weren't too happy about that play at the plate, which was clean, and I think says a lot about Ted Lilly.
It does, Joe. He is a pitcher with a position player's mentality. He has no fear. Now, when I spoke with Derek Lee yesterday, he said that if Lilly had gotten hurt on the play, everyone would have been screaming that it was the dumbest play in the world. But that's Lilly. And as Lilly told me, hey, you're trying to find that middle ground between being stupid and being aggressive.
Aren't we all, though? Aren't we all trying to find that middle ground? 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 out, nobody on. Cardinals looking for their first base runner. Down and in. Yadier Molina, along with that collision, is 5 out of 26 in his career hitting against Ted Lilly. Guy who came up and was known as all arm, not much bat, and he has worked hard to change that perception. That is a walk on On a 3-2 pitch, Lilly thought he had the end of the inning with his first strikeout. On top of the second continues.
Tony La Russa saying about Molina, just run him out there, hope he stays healthy. And this year he has caught more innings than any other major league catcher. 659 innings this year, including this game.
His oldest brother Benji is with the Giants. Very well could have been an all-star as well for the year he's having on a team that got a no-hitter last night and leads the NL in the wild card race as Hoffpower fouls it back. So Benji is 35. The middle brother Jose is 34. And Yadier is 27 and was just named to his first all-star team. And is one of 3 catchers in baseball history to play in 2 World Series before they were 25 years old. And that's to third. Picked up by Ramirez, and the force out at second ends the inning. Time for the bottom of the second here at Wrigley. Cubs coming up. They lead at 3-0. By Bud Light Lime. The drinkability of Bud Light with the refreshing taste of lime. Welcome back to Wrigley Field on a beautiful day. Signs are out. Ladies are out. There's a bachelorette party out in the bleachers. Where we're going to send you, Tim, in the 7th inning. And here's Ted Lilly, who has a 3-0 lead. Bottom of the second. He'll be followed by Fukudome and Terrio against Brad Thompson, who had a poor first inning. Strike one.
Harry Carey used to announce games in the bleachers.
I mean, you're making your case even stronger.
Yeah.
Beautiful day to be out there in the count 0-2.
I was working the stands in 1984 when the Cubs played the San Diego Padres in the postseason, and I had a chance to interview Bill Veeck in center field, and he had purchased 2 tickets, one for himself and one for a keg of beer, and he was giving the beer, the Budweiser, to all the fans in the surrounding area. He had pretzels and beer for his, and he was straight away center field. What a thrill that was, and what a character, and idolized here in Chicago.
One of the great promoters of all time. Lilly, who is no easy out, gets a pretty good swing and count 2-2. In fact, Bill Veeck was the man, I believe, behind Disco Demolition Night.
Yeah, that's right.
On the south side. And the 30th anniversary of that night is tomorrow, as Lilly gets a piece of another pitch from Thompson and the count stays 2-2. Lilly is 3 out of 36 with a couple of RBIs swinging the bat this season. Signed through next year is Ted Lilly, who is 33 years old, and he becomes the first out here in the second. Here is a look back on a night that, Tim, I would say got a little bit out of hand. July 12th, 1979. Disco, at least that night, was pronounced dead. Punk rock was taking over, and the fans on the south side. There's Bill Beck right in the middle. Took it to the extreme on a frightening night at Comiskey. First pitch is a strike to Fukudome, and now another. It's 0-2. There's Bill Beck right in the middle. Whose idea was this? 0-2 on Fukudome. An all-star last year. Takes outside.
One of 2 Cubs starters. Giovanni Soto, the other, behind home plate. Fukudome in center field at Yankee Stadium, the last year of the famous stadium.
With 1 out in the inning, that's fouled back and out of play.
Cubs had 8 all-stars last year. They have 1, and you're looking at him right there this year.
On 1-2, Fukudome rockets 1 out to right. That ball is caught. What a catch by Ludwig. Got a great jump, and on the dead run, stabbed it on his way back to the track.
Fine play by Ryan Ludwig.
With 2 out, nobody on, here is Terrio. Terrio walked and scored his first time up. One of a few misfires in the first inning for Thompson, who walked 2, hit a batter to force home a run with an 0-2 pitch. That was Milton Bradley. Led to 2 more on a hit by Jeff Baker. 1 ball, 1 strike on Terrio. And a ground ball to his left. Brendan Ryan gets a high hop. The inning is over. The Cubs go in order. Better this time around for Thompson. 3rd inning now. Thompson, Thurston, Ryan coming up. 3-0 Chicago. Pepsi is the official soft drink of Major League Baseball. Brad Thompson is in the number 8 spot. He leads it off. Then Joe Thurston and Brendan Ryan. 8, 9, and 1. Tony La Russa likes to hit his pitcher 8th with Pujols hitting 3rd. He likes to get Pujols up in the first inning, so he hits him in the 3rd spot. And then as you get deeper in the order, he would rather get the pitcher out of the way 8th and have more opportunities for base runners on with Pujols coming up. That's why it's more of a hitter in the 9 spot. Strike 2 on Thompson, who is 1 for 9 at the plate this year.
Joe, when Tony La Russa first started doing that, and more I guess last year than any other year, I didn't it didn't make a lot of sense to me, but the more you think about it, it makes a lot of sense. It's almost like an American League lineup, with the exception, of course, that the pitcher does hit, but you put speed in the 9 hole. You have speed at the top of the order, fair speed in the number 2 hole, and then Albert Pujols.
Here's a 2-2 to Thompson, and strikeout number 1 for Ted Lilly. Well, we can't wait. How about you for Tuesday night? And here is our slate of action for you across Fox. You can watch batting practice on foxsports.com at 4:30 Eastern, 1:30 Pacific. You have the Pepsi All-Star pregame show, which begins at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. We'll have the starting lineups, People Magazine's All-Stars Among Us ceremony, and then President Barack Obama will throw out the ceremonial first pitch. And that all begins on Tuesday, right here on Fox. That's in high definition, and it brings the conversation around. We know the starting lineups are, for the most part, there's some injuries in there, and we can talk about that as we go through today, as Thurston waits for a 1-1 pitch. But who will start on the mound is a question to be brought up at this point. The count now 1-2 on Thurston.
I think Tim Lincecum should. He pitched on Thursday, and a guy who was not healthy last year, who had to be rushed to the hospital before the All-Star game at Yankee Stadium. So he couldn't pitch last year, and I think he deserves to start this year's game.
He was the only guy.
Giants?
Oh, my God. I mean, and what they got last night. Here's strike 3 over the outside corner. Back-to-back strikeouts to start this 3rd inning for Ted Lilly.
Good pitch to Thurston to get Joe. But I mean, the San Francisco Giants have the 2nd best record in the National League, and they're leading in the wild card ahead of the Colorado Rockies.
And I think even a hardcore baseball fan, maybe not hardcore, but a good solid baseball fan would be hard pressed to name the starting lineup for the San Francisco Giants. They're doing it with their pitching staff. But I'm with you. I mean, to me, this is the best opportunity we've seen in the last few years for the National League to win this All-Star game, because of Tim Lincecum and because of Dan Herron, who also won last night. They are 2 dominant right-handed pitchers, and if you can get through those first few innings in any All-Star game, then you start getting into the short relievers and it becomes shutdown time. I think the National League has its best chance to win on Tuesday night in the last few years.
The last time the National League did win an All-Star game back in 1996.
Brendan Ryan strikes out, and Ted Lilly strikes out the side. The All-Star is rolling. Maybe Lilly gets the ball. Bottom of the 3rd inning rolls in. Heart of the order coming up. 3-0 Chicago. game in his home ballpark. Here's Derek Lee. Lee, then Aramis Ramirez and Alfonso Soriano. If anybody gets on Milton Bradley against Brad Thompson, and Lee flies one to shallow right. Ludwig runs a mile, and he's there for out number 1.
When Candlestick Park was in San Francisco, of course it's still there, but the Giants don't play there. They play at AT&T Park. But right field was considered the toughest right field to play in baseball. And now that honor or dishonor goes to Wrigley Field. It's tough out there.
I mean, somebody needed to hand Ludwig a cup of Gatorade halfway to that ball. Here is Aramis Ramirez, and I wonder if check swings and he shakes out that left arm a little bit would bother that dislocated shoulder.
That's an interesting question. One thing that Ramirez has said that he can't do is finish with that high swing like he used to have. It's more of a flat swing that he finishes his swing now, and it's hampered him.
Ken Rosenthal, I know you talked to Aramis Ramirez. What did he say about how the shoulder is feeling and in general how he feels swinging the bat?
Joe, he said he doesn't feel all that great, actually. When you talked to him about this, he said, listen, I don't know if it's more mental or that I'm not 100% still sore, but it's just not right. And when he tries to let it fly, he feels a little bit. So the real question is, can they play him every day? What will he be like the rest of the season?
Steve Horn, our editorial consultant, had been talking to me and to Tim prior to the last game we did with the Cubs and the White Sox, and I thought it was a good point that, you know, all Lou was saying, oh, we get Aramis Ramirez back. We get Aramis Ramirez back. We'll get on a roll. It's an awful lot to expect Aramis Ramirez to just roll right back into the lineup and do what he was doing prior to the dislocation of his left shoulder, or what he's done in his career up until 2009. I mean, he's one of the better run producers in the National League, but he's not healthy. He's not 100% and not swinging like he always has. Here's a 1-1 pitch to Soriano, who flicks those wrists and flies one into center for Rasmus. And the Cubs go quietly in the third. Fourth inning rolls in. It'll be Rasmus, Pujols, and Ludwig. 2, 3, and 4 batters for St. Louis. They trail. Pepsi, sponsored by Valspar Paint. Valspar, the beauty goes on. By KFC and the new $5 fill-up box featuring Kentucky grilled chicken. And by Chevy. Fourth inning now, and the 2, 3, and 4 hitters for St. Louis, and Rasmus is jammed. One hop to the second baseman. Baker has to hurry and safe. Baker a little lazy on that ground ball and took a little too much time, and Rasmus beats it out.
Now, Baker may have been lazy, but Rasmus wasn't. Boy, he put the afterburner on to beat that throw from Jeff Baker. Baker, in fairness, had to go to his right, so there's a bit of an adjustment. And clearly Rasmus was safe.
Well, mark that. It's a clean hit.
Yep.
Baker, who has a 2-run single in this game, doesn't get it to first base quick enough, and that is the first hit of the day for St. Louis. Here is Albert Pujols, and bad news for the Cubs when Pujols is coming up. There's a strike for Lilly, who struck out the side in the third. His numbers are staggering. 32 home runs, 85 RBIs. He leads Major League Baseball in both categories. And he's tied for second overall with his average of .336 at the start of the day in the National League. Time called prior to the pitch.
I was behind the batting cage yesterday talking to Tony La Russa, and I said, Tony, I know you've been asked this question so many times, but short and simple, how does Albert do it? He said he has great faith in his hands. He doesn't have a lot of movement before the swing. Most guys have to really put everything behind it with their body, with their arms. But Albert simply picks his left foot up and puts it down. About 3 inches with the left foot, picks it up, puts it down. You have to be tremendously strong to do that and have tremendously quick and strong hands, and Pujols does.
One on with nobody out, a 1-1 pitch. Reaching for it, strike 2. Here's the swing of a guy who has hit 40 home runs in his career against Cub pitching. 20 here at Wrigley Field. He went deep and also had a triple here yesterday, his first triple since 2007. And a check on Rasmus. Even Colby Rasmus is in on this mustache game the Cardinals are playing as best he can. Cardinals all trying to grow facial hair while they have won 7 of their last 10. And now a balk has been called by Angel Hernandez as he was stepping off. Lilly evidently, now he wants to talk to not his catcher Coy Hill. He wants to talk to Angel Hernandez, and let's take a look.
Angel Hernandez called it right away, and there's some balks that you kind of understand. There's speed on it first. It's a tie game. This balk, there's no way to understand what's going on with Ted Lilly right here with Albert Pujols, the batter. Where is Rasmus going with the Cardinals down by 3 runs?
It was that little flinch just before he lifted his back leg off the rubber.
Right.
There was a little movement before he made that step back, and it's a balk to send Rasmus down to second with nobody out here in the 4th. But not much. Count still 1-2 on Pujols.
That's a third pitch where he's worried about the runner. Twice at first, now once at second base. The guy hitting is the best offensive player in the game by far. And you've got a 3-run lead. Now I ask you, Ted, what are you doing?
Here's a 1-2 pitch and a rocket foul.
I'm going to go up and ask Ted Lilly during the workout on Monday in St. Louis exactly his thought process in pitching to Albert right now.
Well, it was an interesting look at Larry Rothschild, the pitching coach, in the dugout, he was kind of shaking his head after that move. A lot of that stuff is called from dugouts these days and called by managers. A look back at second or a step off, whatever it is. Here's a 1-2. Pujols takes low, 2-2.
And now with first base open, even with the 3-run lead, Ted Lilly will try to get Albert Pujols out on balls out of the strike zone.
On deck is Ludwig, who has 13 RBIs in his last 12 games. The 2-2. And a little pop up into right field. Long run for Bradley. Can he get there? He can. 1 out. So Pujols is retired, 1 on, 1 out, and Ludwig will be the hitter. Ryan flying to center his first time up. 4 RBIs in the game yesterday. Angel Hernandez is the home plate umpire. He's wearing a microphone for us today on Fox, and we will play you the audio, the meeting that he had, the talk he had with Ted Lilly about why he called the balk with Pujols at the plate and Rasmus on at first. There's a strike to Ludwig. We'll do that when we get a moment here in the 4th. And again, Lilly spins and looks back at Rasmus. The cleanup position for the Cardinals in their lineup had not been doing anything. There's strike 2. As a group, the players hitting behind Pujols, who's hit third all year, hitting .225 when this Cardinal road trip began on July 3rd. It's been getting better, and the big reason why is the hitting of Ryan Ludwig. Set up here at 0-2. And a foul out of play. Joe Patini, the Cardinal bench coach, talking with Tony La Russa, who we will visit with during this game. Another 0-2. And Ludwig trying to go to right, spoils the pitch.
Tony La Russa will find his Cardinals a split doubleheader tomorrow, day-night doubleheader, before Tony goes to the All-Star game as one of the coaches for Charlie Manuel on Tuesday. And Tony will see his good friend Jerry Reinsdorf, the owner of the Chicago White Sox, tonight. Very, very close friends.
Even though he was fired by Reinsdorf.
Yeah, and Jerry Reinsdorf has said that was the worst move he's ever made as an owner of any franchise.
Here's a grounder to third. It gets through Aramis Ramirez, and that will bring Colby Rasmus to the plate. Ludwig digging for second with a double. That ball was scorched to third. Ramirez couldn't make the play. It's an RBI double in a 3-1 game.
Yeah, that ball did not stay down, and it came up on Ramirez. I think it hit him in the left wrist. Good hustle by Ludwig as he scores, or I beg your pardon, as he goes to second, and Rasmus scores the first Cardinal run. Watch it come up and hit the heel of the glove of Ramirez.
And so now Stavanoa represents the tying run at the plate. Ludwig hits second, 1 out. 3-1 Chicago, and Stavanoa rips at it and fouls it back.
Joe, what's really remarkable about these Cardinals is that they have a 3-game lead, and they've had 15 rookies. 15 rookies come and go from their roster all year long,
including 9 players who've made their major league debuts this season. A lot of that on the pitching staff. But still, with guys like Hoffpower and others in the lineup. Here's a pitch that squirts away. Ludwig stays at second. I have said this before, and I will continue to say this. No manager in baseball gets more out of the group he's given than Tony La Russa.
I couldn't agree with you more.
He plays the underdog card as well as anybody. He gets this group to play hard day after day. The only real addition the Cardinals made over the offseason was Khalil Green. Here's a 1-1 pitch from Lilly. That's fouled back. Khalil Green has been on the disabled list 2 times with an anxiety disorder. And so he really hasn't been a factor at all here in 2009. And yet Tony La Russa pieces things together in the rotation, in the bullpen. He's found a closer in Ryan Franklin, thanks in large part to the work done by his top lieutenant Dave Duncan, his pitching coach, who's been with him since '83. A lineup that swirls around the guy who hits third. As Stavanoa hits one into center. Back is Fukudome. They'll haul it in. Tagging going to third is Ludwig, and he's there with 2 out. Here is the sounds of the game with Angel Hernandez explaining the balk call to Ted Lilly moments ago.
Yeah. You came up with your glove. You started towards your windup.
I've done that 100 times.
No, that's a balk. That's just you came up. No, you can't come up.
So there's the explanation, and you can see that little flinch in there. And we thank Angel Hernandez for agreeing to wear a microphone for us here today. And now they get a chance to talk again. And here's another look. A little slide down the leg by Lilly with his right arm is what drew the balk call, and now Hernandez had to go out and break up the meeting between Coy Hill and Ted Lilly as Yadier Molina stands in.
Some umpires are better situated to call balks than others. If it happens with the front part of the body of a pitcher, normally the home plate umpire has a better view of it. If it's a step over to first base, the first base umpire has a better view of it.
See how the Cubs attack Yadier Molina, who overall is hitting just under 280 with an unproven rookie Jared Hoffpower waiting on deck. 2-run Chicago lead. Ludwig at third, and Molina hits one into right. Bradley is there, and that'll do it for St. Louis in the 4th. A leadoff infield hit by Colby Rasmus, and he scored on the RBI double by Ludwig. It's 3-1 Chicago after 3.5. Milton Bradley will lead it off for Chicago here in the bottom of the fourth. It's now a 2-run game, 3-1 Cubs. A 3-run first inning. Cardinals got on the board in the top of this fourth, and Bradley takes a big swing and a foul straight back.
That's an example of what you were talking about earlier, about the lower part of the body and the top part of the body not in unison.
That is hammered foul, strike 2.
That's a lot easier pitch. That slider down and in's a lot easier pitch for a left-handed hitter to handle. But that first pitch is just a fastball inside part, and he fouls it back the other way. Regardless of how you're going, if the ball's down and into a left-hander, they seem to get the bat head through.
And Bradley went around. Molina doesn't know where the ball is, and Bradley will end up at first.
I think Bradley got caught in between arguing about whether he went around or not and whether to run to first base. He figured, well, I want to argue, but the ball's too far away from Molina. Watch his reaction. Well, he was going to take a step over. He was almost out of the box. He was almost into the right-hand side of the batter's box before he took off for first base.
So it's a strikeout, a wild pitch, third strikeout for Thompson. And that's a rarity with Yadier Molina catching. Gold Glove Award winner last year, and he received strike 1 over the inside corner to Jeff Baker. Baker with a big hit in the first inning, a 2-out, 2-run single. Then he laid back a little on a ground ball hit by Colby Rasmus, turned it into an infield hit at the top of this inning, and Rasmus came around to score on a double by Ludwig. Here's the 0-1 pitch to Baker. Strike 2. That first inning, Thompson fell behind one hitter after another, and here in the last couple he's been out in front, as he was with Bradley, who struck out but reached first on the wild pitch, and now he's 0-2 on Baker. Check on the runner at first. We had a chance to visit with Tony La Russa during the last break, and we'll give you that interview when we get the chance here in the bottom of the fourth. And we'll talk to Lou Piniella during the next break. Here's the 0-2. First question was to Tony about his starter Thompson, who struggled in the first inning and seems to have figured it out in the last couple.
Well, I just even in that first inning, he gives up the runs with 2 outs, and he's ahead of both guys, 0-1, 0-2. So one thing about Brett, he's going to compete, and he competes so hard once in a while it gets in the way of him.
That's something that we were just talking about with regard to you as a manager, and I'm wondering just your overall philosophy. I know it's in soundbite territory here, and it deserves more than that, but how you get your team year in and year out to play what you call a hard 9.
I mean, it's simple. That's the easiest rule that you can have. I don't have but a couple, and that one there, you enforce it. Guys don't play hard, they don't play. I mean, it's very simple. It's the way this game's supposed to be played. She learned it years ago, and it's a Cardinal tradition.
You don't see that, though, everywhere. I know it's a simple rule, but you see some guys get away with things that on your team, it doesn't seem to fly.
Well, we have really good people, and this has been true about Oakland, Chicago. And we keep it simple, and that's our priority, to play hard and play good, because I played hard and I wasn't any good. So you do have to mix in playing good as well, but it starts with the heart.
I know you cleaned out your office for Charlie Manuel, who will manage the National League side in St. Louis on Tuesday night. Who did the cleaning? You, Rip Rowan? Who did it?
Well, I took care of the books, and Rip did everything else.
All right. Thanks, Tony.
All right.
While we were listening to the interview, Milton Bradley stole second base. He's there with nobody out, and a 1-2 pitch now to Baker is outside, 2-2. No error on the throw as Bradley stayed put. Actually, they did not grant a stolen base. It was a wild pitch, so the second one of this inning for Brad Thompson. That's what put Bradley down at second, and Baker chops one foul. A off the top of the Cubs dugout. Still 2-2.
Joe, that was outstanding base running by Milton Bradley. He went on first contact in the ground. That's what Eddie Stanky used to preach. Whenever the ball hits the ground and you're on at first base, go. Because when a catcher, if he comes up with it cleanly, he can't grip the ball effectively, and that's what happened to Molina. Overthrew second base.
On 2-2, that's down and away. It was 0-2. Now it's a full count, 3-2.
Here's that play right here. That ball in the dirt. Now Molina with the mask off and making the throw to second base and not gripping it properly. Very, very good base running by Bradley.
He's at second, nobody out. 3-2 pitch to Baker. And that's ball 4. So now getting a little wild again is Brad Thompson. That's his third walk. He's thrown 2 wild pitches in this inning. He's hit a batter. That was back in the first, and it's first and second, nobody out for Coy Hill. And onto the phone goes Dave Duncan to call his bullpen and get somebody loose.
Not a bunting situation right now with the pitcher on deck. Normally you don't bunt guys over for the pitcher hitting unless it's a guy like Carlos Zambrano coming up.
So after hanging up the phone, Dave Duncan's going to trot out and do 2 things: buy time for Josh Kinney to get loose and try and help Brad Thompson find his control again. Our Gillette trivia question was, who was the last player to homer in the All-Star game in his home ballpark? The answer is Chipper Jones in 2000 in Atlanta.
It's a good one.
And maybe appropriate to ask, with St. Louis being the host city of the All-Star game, and Albert Pujols sure will be in that number 3 spot for the National League on Tuesday night. Coy Hill at the plate, and a ground ball to first. Pujols to second for 1, on to first for a double play. 3-6-3, and nicely turned by Pujols and Brendan Ryan.
Yeah, it was just a matter of whether Albert Pujols was going to give way to the pitcher, Brad Thompson. He got rid of it quickly, and now he has to get back to first base quickly. Watch Brad Thompson, almost in the line of the throw, but he pulled up in time. Nicely done by Pujols.
And now Chad Lilly will bat with a runner at third, 2 out. Lilly struck out his first time. 3 for 37 with a bat this season. Takes a strike. Brad Thompson trying to pitch around 2 wild pitches and a walk. First 2 batters reaching in this inning, and now it's Lilly trying to bunt, and it's a room service hop to Brad Thompson to end the inning. And after all that, the Cubs get nothing. Strand their 3rd of the day. We go to the 5th. 3-1 Cubs leading the Cardinals. Bottom of the order for St. Louis against Ted Lilly. That means Jared Hoffpauir, then Brad Thompson, then Joe Thurston. 3-1 Chicago. Top of the 5th. Hoffpauir goes after the first pitch and pops it into left. The hop and the catch. It's coming. Hey. 1 out. Here's our visit with Lou Piniella, and we talked to him first about how this was one that the Cubs need with their all-star Ted Lilly on the mound today.
He's pitched really well at home for us all year. So, yeah, it's a game that we really need. No question about it.
And, Lou, you continue to say that you think this team's going to have a run before the year's out.
Well, let me tell you, we need to stay healthy. Every time we feel that we're getting healthy, something else happens. We've had our regular team on the field 2 games out of the first 83 games. That's not going to cut it. And also, we need to score more runs than what we have. If we can do those things, yeah, we can make a run. If not, it's going to be awfully tough.
I know a frustrating injury for you, Lou, with Ryan Dempster breaking his toe. I talked to him before the game. He seems pretty optimistic that it's not going to cost him 3 or 4 weeks, that he might only miss 1 start after the All-Star break.
Well, we'll see. He's a gamer. There's no question about it. But a broken toe is a broken toe. And as you know, when a pitcher starts feeling something down in his feet, you can hurt your shoulder and elbow. So we're going to be careful with it, obviously.
We appreciate your time, Lou. Good luck.
Yes, sir.
All right, thanks.
Bye.
Lou Piniella has had back-to-back division titles. He is signed through next year. In his 3rd year at the controls, he's done a very good job here with the Cubs. And there's strike 3 to Thompson. Strikeout number 4 on the day for Ted Lilly. But, man, it has been a frustrating 2009. And as Lewis said, on countless occasions, every time they get somebody back, they lose somebody else. And they've barely had their starting group together only 2 times all year. And Ken Rosenthal, that's not it. I mean, even stuff's going on away from the field and in transactions that have bothered this team.
Joe, this is another example of the Cubs' poor luck. After the injury to Giovanni Soto, they put a claim in on Chris Coates, the Phillies catcher. The claim was awarded yesterday to the Astros because the Astros were at a lower position in the standings. Well, what happens yesterday? Astros win, Cubs lose, and if the claim was awarded today, it would have gone to the Cubs because they've been passed by the Astros in the standings.
Thanks, Ken. 1 ball, no strikes. If you want to hear more and read more from Ken Rosenthal, who is the best in the business, you can go to foxsports.com. The count has gone to 2-0 on Joe Thurston. And now 3-0 with Brendan Ryan on deck.
They're talking about that broken toe and arm injuries. I guess the most famous or infamous incident was back in 1937 when Dizzy Dean had the broken toe and then continued to pitch and hurt his right shoulder, and that cost him his career. So I assume that's one of the examples Lou was talking about, and he was talking about Ryan Dempster.
Well, they lost Giovanni Soto, who had been kind of coming around with the bat after a rough April. An all-star and a rookie from a year ago as Thurston flies to right. He got hurt during batting practice. Milton Bradley glides in, makes the play. Cardinals go in order in the 5th. Halfway through it, top of the order coming up for the Cubs. And that includes D. Lee, Derek Lee. Bottom of the 5th. Cubs up 3-1. Every generation refreshes the world. We go into the bottom of the 5th inning here in Chicago at Wrigley. In the top of the order, Kosuke Fukudome is leading it off. He's 0 for 2. Came in hitting 400, or rather 353 with a 400 on base percentage as a leadoff hitter. 6th time he's been in this spot, and he hits a slow roller to Brendan Ryan, who's a very good glove man. 1 out. Right now it's time to bring the heat, presented by Taco Bell. We look at a pitch velocity comparison between Brad Thompson, who has hit in the low 90s, and the same for Ted Lilly, who in the 4th inning hit 92 miles per hour. And there's the baby face of the 27-year-old right-hander Brad Thompson, who is trying as best he can to grow some facial hair as he gives up a line drive base hit to Terrio into left. Play is made by Stavanoa, and it's a 1-out single for Ryan Terrio.
Well, there are a lot of ways to get facial hair. You can go to a place that specializes in parties, magician stuff.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you could buy one.
Right. You can buy it. You can grow it. Look at that. That's Ryan Franklin. That is the chin hair of an all-star.
His first all-star game at the age of 36. Another nice story.
That's a foul ball.
One of many stories that will be of the 66 players, 33 on each roster. The roster expanded this year by 1 player. And that, of course, will be Tuesday night, 8 o'clock Eastern time.
Starting with the Pepsi All-Star pregame show. Ken Rosenthal, did you talk to any of Thompson's teammates about his attempt to grow a mustache or something?
I did, Joe, and they frankly are not happy that he's their representative today on Fox. Mustaches have been quite the performance enhancers for the Cardinals, but Thompson is so boyish looking. Skip Schumacher told me he only has 6 hairs on his entire face.
So is that actually an effort to try and grow something? I mean, it looks like he shaved this morning. Or there's Josh Kinney.
He is trying, Joe. He told me this is what I've got.
Wow. It's quite a split screen comparison. Josh Kinney looks like Wyatt Earp.
Does.
0-2 is the count. 1 on, 1 out. Derek Lee at the plate. And a fly ball into left center field. Well hit. Rasmus will turn, play it off the wall. And Lee will make it to second with a double. Second and third, 1 out for Chicago.
Derek Lee almost oversliding the bag at second base. A very fine play by Colby Rasmus. Finds out that he can't make the play and then turns and bare hands it off the wall. Nicely done. And hits the cutoff man. And then the throw to second base. And watch Derek Lee. He almost slides past the bag and has to grab the bag with both hands.
So now second and third, 1 out. Batter is Ramirez. Ramos is 1 for 2. They're going to visit on the mound. I want to check in with Ken Rosenthal one more time. Ken, we have read so much about the Philadelphia Phillies, and you hear the name Roy Halladay. That might be a destination spot. But more immediately, it seems like they're hot on the trail of Pedro Martinez.
Joe, the Cardinals would love to get Roy Halladay. Chris Carpenter, in particular, his former teammate with the Blue Jays, told me today, hey, I would love to have him here, part of our rotation, but it's not terribly realistic. They've already added $3 million in payroll by getting Mark DeRosa. And then it would take basically all of their top prospects plus the addition of Halladay's salary. $14.25 million, what's left of that this year, and then $15.75 million next year. We're talking about a $50 million rotation next year if this happens for a team with about a $90 million payroll this season.
First pitch is down and away for a ball. Second and third, 1 out, and a chance for Aramis Ramirez to add to a 3-1 lead. We're in the 5th. Cubs haven't scored since they got 3 in the first. That's outside. It's 2-0. On deck is Soriano.
You may remember Dave Duncan, the pitching coach's comments before the game. Anything that we get from Brad Thompson after 5 innings is a luxury. What we really want, 5 effective innings.
Here's a ground ball to short. Ryan will look at home, but throw to first, and it's 4-1 Chicago on an RBI ground out by Ramirez. The Cubs have their 3-run lead back, and it's supplied by a guy who, when he's been in the lineup, Tim, over the past 2 years, this group averages 1 full run more per game than they do without it.
Ryan, an idea about coming home and realizing that Terrio's the runner.
Here is Soriano. There's Derek Lee at second with 2 out. And there's what you talked about in that first at bat, a wild swing and a ball down and away.
Yeah, balls in the strike zone. The biggest problem that Soriano's had this year. He's always had that problem, so it's nothing new, but this year it has mushroomed.
The 0-1 pitch is in the dirt. Alfonso Soriano was not happy that he was left out of the lineup on Wednesday. Not happy, A, that he wasn't playing on Wednesday, and B, that he wasn't told leaving the park on Tuesday that he wasn't going to play the next day on Wednesday. Lou Piniella gave him the day off and then coupled that with an off day on Thursday as Soriano hits it into left. Stavanoa's throw is almost cut off. Down to second is Soriano in the biggest lead of the day. It's 5-1 Chicago here in the 5th. A 2-out RBI hit by Alfonso Soriano. And that'll be it for Brad Thompson. Soriano took second on that throw toward home, and Thompson is knocked out after 4 2/3. Kenny is coming in, and the Cubs have their biggest lead of the day, leading St. Louis 5-1. Josh Kinney takes over for St. Louis here in the 5th. Zantac relief pitcher profile. Heartburn, attack it. Zantac. Big part of the Cardinals championship season in 06. Missed all of 07. Elbow surgery, has worked his way back. Came up at the end of last year, and now here he is in 09. And And one of the reasons why the Cardinals felt comfortable trading Chris Perez to Cleveland to get Mark DeRosa, because he has pitched much better this time around. 1-0 pitch. Fouled away by Bradley. A ball and a strike. And the numbers for Brad Thompson, still responsible for the runner at second base. Had a couple of wild pitches. A hit batsman in there. 5 runs on 5 hits. Kenny steps off. Cardinals in the 6th inning will have the top of their lineup: Ryan, Rasmus, and Pujols. The 1-1 pitch is hit to first. Pujols flips for the out. Bradley not running hard down the line, made that an easy play. And we go into the 6th. Couple of runs for the Cubs, who have their biggest lead of the day. It's 5-1. Pujols coming up third for St. Louis in the 6th. DirecTV. If you call yourself a sports fan, you got to get DirecTV. By Gillette Fusion, Gillette's closest, most comfortable shave. And by Applebee's, it's a whole new neighborhood. And that's a nice neighborhood. Michigan Avenue, downtown Chicago, and Michael Hoffpower takes over at first base for Derek Lee, and you wonder if Lee injured himself on this awkward slide at second in the bottom of the 5th.
Yeah, it's so awkward with the Cubs injury problems. I mean, that does not look good for the Cubs. Don't know what happened, but you have to assume that Derek Lee injured himself with that slide, that overslide of second base.
Top of the order for St. Louis, and Brendan Ryan goes after the first pitch, strike one. Ryan is flying to right, struck out. Colby Rasmus will follow, and then Albert Pujols. That's strike two.
This is certainly not directed at Derek Lee, because Derek Lee is a gamer and a guy who will play every day. But there are a lot of strange injuries that are cropping up in Major League Baseball. And I remember Pete Rose's line years ago, about 30 years ago, when Pete said, if I were the commissioner, here's what I'd say. Now, no way to get this by the Players Association. But here's what I'd do. If players show up ready to play that day, he gets paid. If he's not ready to play, he doesn't get paid. Now, that may be extreme, and it may not be so extreme. But there are an awful lot of weird injuries cropping up with players in the major leagues.
And again, that has nothing to do with Derek Lee.
No,
but it's
no.
interesting to say at the end of a week when Alfonso Soriano, who's been a disappointment in the Cubs lineup this season, was quoted as saying, because he was upset that he wasn't told that he wouldn't play the next day, if I had been told that I wasn't playing in today's game, I wouldn't have shown up ready to play.
Bizarre.
Here is Ryan flying one to rather deep right center field, and Milton Bradley goes back and makes the play 1 out. You have to hope, or at least I do, that something is lost in translation between the sentiment of Alfonso Soriano, what he was trying to say, and what came out. Because if you are willing to say that, I wouldn't have shown up ready to play. I mean, that is stunning to read that in newspapers. And if I were Lou Piniella, that would really bother me. And the Cubs organization in general. Here is Colby Rasmus, and with 1 out, he takes a pitch up and in. Rasmus hustled down the line and got an infield base hit. Leading off the 4th inning, was balked to second and scored on a double by Ludwig, the only Cardinal run of the day, as a pitch misses up and in.
Joe, we've almost come up with a different vocabulary for injuries. I mean, the word tweak has entered the injury vocabulary over the last 10 years. He tweaked a hamstring. He tweaked an ankle or tweaked something. Oblique is another word. I mean, 15 years ago, nobody used that word unless it was in high school geometry.
Here's a pitch down and in, but a called strike, 3-1 on Colby Rasmus. Seagulls start to swirl around the park as Rasmus lines out to second, 2 away. First 2 at bats for Albert Pujols. He came really close in the 1st inning. Got it down toward the end of the bat, and then in the 4th, one to shallow right. It was caught by Milton Bradley. With 2 out, nobody on, Pujols takes 1 up and in. What they're saying now for Derek Lee is it's neck spasms. That's why he's out of the ball game, leaving after the bottom of the 5th. 1-0 pitch is hit hard through the left side, a 2-out hit. And for St. Louis, just their 3rd hit of the afternoon against the All-Star Ted Lilly. You start looking at these numbers and taking Major League Baseball history from 1900 on and going decade by decade, and you can see what Pujols has done during this decade, from 2000 through this season in 2009, leading the league in average and home runs for that decade. On a list with names like Wagner and Hornsby and Ted Williams. 1 on, 2 out. Ludwig is the only RBI of the day for St. Louis, and he flies one into right. Milton Bradley, a long run, and the inning is over. It's a foul ball when it was caught. A 2-out hit by Pujols. Cardinals had stranded 2. Played 5.5, 5-1 Chicago. Busting it down the line, an infield base hit led to the Cardinals' only run. Otherwise, it's been all Chicago, and it's more Chicago as Baker gets a shot down the left field line and an easy stand-up double to start the bottom of the 6th. Baker's had a nice day. A 2-out, 2-run single in the first, a walk, and now a leadoff double.
Jumping on the first pitch from Josh Kinney.
Brings in Coy Hill. Ball up and in. Coy Hill so far today not in on the Chicago fun. He's bounced into a force out and a double play. Hawksworth getting ready for St. Louis in their pen. That's out in front of the plate. Staying at second base is Baker, and out at first is Hill, one away.
You know, to further the Cubs' problems, now with Soto out, the Cubs can't play one of their best young hitters, and that's Jake Fox, because he's the second catcher, and you want to keep Jake Fox, you know, in line to either pinch hit or be ready in case something happens to Coy Hill.
Fox has been a guy who's really injected some life in this lineup when he's had a chance to get in there. And yeah, I think they're going to have to try as this season wears on to force his name onto that lineup card a little more. The problem is if you put him in the outfield, who sits? You've got a lot of money tied up with Milton Bradley in right, with certainly Soriano in left, and the only other position other than forcing him at third base is first. Here is Hoffpower. Good play for the out. Jared Hoffpower came flashing in and made a tough play look easy. 2 down.
Well, he comes a long way with this ball. Now, Ted Lilly not a fast runner, but a fine play by Hoffpower. Might be the only major league game in the history of the sport to have 2 Hoffpowers playing against one another.
And they're not related.
No, not even related.
Micah Hoffpower is in now for Lee, who's out with neck spasms. And Jared Hoffpower, a rookie, second baseman for the Cardinals, just made that play. And now here is Fukudome, who is 0 for 3. Vasquez is struck out, line to right, and grounded out. Leadoff double by Baker. He is at third with 2 down. Ball 1. Only the Padres have scored fewer runs this season in the National League than Chicago. They've had a very difficult time hitting with runners in scoring position all season long. Baker at third, 2 out, 1-0 pitch is in for a strike from Josh Kinney. Kinney took over last inning, got Bradley to ground out. Trying to pitch around a leadoff double by Baker here in the 6th. That's a foul ball, strike 2. Our Hyundai in-game box score for Chicago. Fukudome is hitless. He's at the plate looking for his first. Terrio has a hit. Baker with a double, a single, 2 RBIs. And an RBI for Aramis Ramirez, producing the all-new 306 horsepower rear-wheel drive Hyundai Genesis Coupe. Here's a 1-2. Outside, 2-2. Cubs gave Fukudome a 4-year, $48 million deal. Got off to a fast start last year, tapered off to a fast start this year. And prior to this week, had struggled the rest of this first half, trying to be the leadoff hitter now in this lineup, and he watches ball 3 sail wide. Full count. Fukudome pops it up. Shallow center field. An easy for Colby Rasmus. Glasses on. The inning is over. Cubs do not take advantage of a leadoff double by Jeff Baker. Into the 7th we go. 5-1 Cubs back to Chicago after a word from your local Fox station. Baseball on Fox, presented by Pepsi. Pepsi is the official soft drink of Major League Baseball. We go into the 7th inning on a beautiful day in this great city, and first up is Nick Stavanoa, and he takes a pitch up for ball 1 from Ted Lilly. Just something to file away as Lilly brings it home on a 1-0 pitch. Stavanoa lines a base hit into left. I was just watching Lilly warm up prior to the start of this 7th inning. He was stretching out his legs, and he's doing it again here. And I know I'm sure it's something that he does from time to time, but he came across the bag really awkwardly when he grounded out on that good play by Hoffpower to get him charging from his second base position, and that would be the last thing that the Cubs need. Is anything physically wrong with Ted Lilly, their lone all-star?
Yeah, that was a good pickup, because you don't often see a pitcher trying to leg out a base hit, regardless of the circumstances. Most of them don't run that hard. And we found out early in the game when Lilly had that collision with Yadier Molina last September 10th that he not only runs hard to first, he runs hard everywhere. But that was awkward coming down on the other side of the bag.
Molina takes a pitch down and in. Yadier has walked, lined out to right. Stavanoa is on at first with his first hit. The Cardinals only have 4 hits all afternoon. They've been handed a walk. And that's it by Ted Lilly, who so far this year at Wrigley in 8 home starts is 5-1 with an ERA under 2. There's a strike, and it's 2-1. Looking for career win number 100 is Lilly, who came up with the Expos in 1999, traded to the Yankees in 2000, traded to Oakland, traded to Toronto, and a free agent signed on with the Cubs and has 40 wins in 2.5 years in a Cub uniform. Career high 17 wins last year. The 2-1. Line drive into right. Bradley drifts back and makes the play. 1 out. Molina's hitless, and Hoffpauir will be the hitter.
Our friends at Stats Inc. have informed us that not only is this game the first time that of course yesterday also the first time 2 Hoffpauirs faced one another, but they are the only 2 Hoffpauirs in the history of baseball. Same spelling, Hoffpauir.
Stats Inc., our friends there, also tell us there's only been one McCarver.
Really?
In the history of Major League Baseball.
Really?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
I've always known that. Even if Stats Inc. hadn't backed it up, there's only one U.
I guess I could have gone to the encyclopedia and found that out.
Why do you think Steve lugs that thing around for us every week? It's right here. And Keel on deck. He will pinch hit for Kinney, who went an inning and a third scoreless, barring a double play, and a check on the runner. That's Stabenoa.
Also only 2 bucks in the history of baseball. That's on the field.
Right.
In the booth, Jack and Joe.
Hawksworth getting loose. 1 on, 1 out, 1 ball, no strikes on Hoffpauir. And a foul back. 1-1. Hyundai in-game box score for the Cardinals. Hoffpauir, who's at the plate, is 0 for 2. Infield hit for Rasmus, scored a run on the RBI double by Ludwig. Stabenoa just got a base hit. 2-out hit by Pujols last inning, and that is all. As we introduce the all-new 306 horsepower rear-wheel drive Hyundai Genesis Coupe. Here's a 1-1. And in at the knees, strike 2. Wrigley Field is absolutely jam-packed.
Not only at the field, but peripherally also. Across Waveland Avenue.
1-2 pitch. Hoffpauir fooled, but fouled it away. Across Waveland, across Sheffield. Here come the Seagulls. They're gathering in strength.
I can remember this ballpark when there were no fans sitting on the rooftops across the street. Sheffield and Waveland.
Here's the 1-2. Hoffpauir stays up there.
I think what a real boon to the Cubs in Wrigley Field was when Leo DeRocher took over as manager back in the middle 60s. And then the near miss in 1969. The Mets came on strong in August and September to win it. Think about it, 101 years since the Cubs have won a world championship.
1 ball, 2 strikes. Hoffpauir grounds one up the middle. Terrio, nice pickup. Barehanded stab and a double play.
Wow.
It doesn't get any better. Starting it was Terrio, and Baker in the middle with a barehanded grab and a strong throw to get Hoffpauir. Time to stretch. 5-1 Cubs. Refreshes the world and sponsored by Carfax. Free at your used car dealer. Just say, show me the Carfax. And by Taco Bell, think outside the bun. Cardinals make a double switch as they bring in a new left fielder. Rick Ankiel takes over. Bat the number 8 spot and lead it off in the 8th. And the new pitcher is Blake Hawksworth. Pitcher's spot is batting 5th for St. Louis, and first pitch swinging is Terrio, strike 1. Hawksworth, one of the aforementioned rookies, making their major league debut here in 2009. So far, so good. Out of the bullpen for Tony La Russa as he misses down and in. 2 balls and a strike. Five appearances for Hawksworth so far. He has allowed 7 hits and only 1 run. 1 walk, and still looking for his first major league strikeout. 2-1 pitch is way outside. 3 balls and a strike. Lefty is Sean Marshall. The right-hander is Carlos Marmol. Here's a 3-1 to Terrio. Full count.
Being a rookie, probably coming up and being a guy out of the bullpen is probably the best way to break into the major leagues.
Terrio grounds to short, deep in the hole. It's Brendan Ryan who did all he could, but it's an infield hit.
Brendan did all he could with the jump throw. You think of Derek Jeter when you see that. Rules coming off the bag. You think about that. If you're a starting pitcher, there's a lot of pressure on a young pitcher. A manager can be more selective when he selects a guy to pitch out of the bullpen. If you're a regular player, there's going to be heat on you 4 times at the plate, but you can selectively pitch a guy 1 inning or perhaps 2 innings in the middle of a game like this, getting more experience.
The pitch misses down and away. The batter is Hoffpauer. Mentioned that Derek Lee had that awkward slide. The good news for the Cubs is they're reporting it's neck spasms. The neck has bothered Lee from time to time this season. So Hoffpauer is getting his first at bat. Micah takes a strike, and it's 1-1. Lee, while he was in there, a double, a run scored, 1 for 3. On deck is Ramirez. Talking about pitching, I know I asked earlier Ken Rosenthal about Pedro Martinez with the Phillies. Ken, if you can hear me, I'll ask you again, is that pretty much a done deal with Pedro Martinez going to Philadelphia?
Well, Joe, I'm sorry I missed you before. I was so wound up about Holiday. I just had to talk about him. But yes, Pedro is going to take a physical this week, and that's the final step before he will become a Philly. Joe, you remember that talk about him asking for $5 million or a prorated portion of $5 million. What I'm told is that the number is going to be significantly less, that the number actually will surprise us. Now, the Phillies believe that Pedro will be ready in about 3 weeks, around August 1st. And Pedro's motivation here is to win. He has won an American League title, and now he wants one in the National League.
Yeah, he was part of that 2004 Red Sox team. You know, you think about all these teams that are just looking for anybody to fill out a starting rotation. I think about the Mets or some of these other clubs. The Mets made a deal last night, by the way, getting Jeff Francoeur and sending Ryan Church to Atlanta. Pedro Martinez, I'm surprised that if Martinez, who is saying that he feels very good, I'm sure that's no surprise. But if he's throwing the ball well with his experience, here's a ball in the dirt and Terrio can't advance. that it would be a derby of one team trying to sign Pedro Martinez. I would think 3 or 4 teams would want him.
Yeah, I don't think the number, as Ken intimated about the $5 million, but much less than $5 million. I don't think that number is important. I think the number on the radar gun is what's important about Pedro Martinez. Whether he can reach 90 miles an hour again.
2 balls, 2 strikes. Hoffpauir, runner at first. Theriot, nobody out. And what a pickup. Throw down to first, and Terrio's gone.
Unbelievable.
There is nobody better in the game than Yadier Molina, who made a backhanded stab of a pitch in the dirt and turned it into an out.
31 pickoffs he has had now in his major league career. That's twice as many as anybody else. That is an unbelievable play. Theriot couldn't believe it, and neither could I. Unbelievable.
I'm sure we'll talk more about it if we get the chance on Tuesday night in the All-Star game. Here's a 3-2 to Hoffpauir, and a line drive is caught by Pujols, 2 out. But I know you had and have always had a ton of respect for the late Dave Ricketts, who taught Yadier Molina the finer points of the art of catching in his minor league days in the Cardinal organization. And then he was in the perfect spot to come up to him and learn under Mike Matheny, who in his day I thought was the best defensive catcher in the game.
Yeah, I agree with that. He later went to the Giants and then had to retire because of concussions. But you talk about 2 great guys to teach that position. Dave Ricketts first, and then Mike Matheny.
2 strikes on Aramis Ramirez, rather a ball and a strike with 2 out and nobody on.
I mean, that play right there, you just don't see that. I mean, not only to come up with the ball, we talked about it earlier, about that in-between hop, having a tough time gripping the ball, but then to make the throw to first base and just shocking Theriot. Shocked him. Because Terriot's thinking second base. Here it is again. Look at this. You got the hitter in between hop. You're working with a catcher's mitt and not an infielder's glove. Theriot, as I said, shocked. That's the only word I can come up with.
Now Ramirez strikes out, shakes out that left arm, and we go to the 8th inning at Wrigley. Cardinals will bat, and Keel will lead it off. 5-1 Cubs. Rick Ankiel against Ted Lilly, strike one. There's still action for the Cubs in their bullpen, so if Lilly stumbles at all here in the 8th inning, he will have help. It's 5-1, Cubs lead it. And the next is up, 1 ball 1 strike on Ankiel. First at bat, took over in the double switch last half inning. Thurston will follow, and then Brendan Ryan. Ankiel has really struggled. Went through an 0 for 14 streak that he broke last Sunday. Had that ugly collision with the outfield wall in St. Louis on May 4th. And he has shown a couple of flashes of getting his swing back together, but it really has not been sustainable so far for Ankiel.
We talked about injuries. Rick told me yesterday that that right shoulder is still bothering him. And it is not the same, but hey, you got to play.
Ankiel pops it into shallow center. Tough play for Terrio, and he's there for out number 1. Well, we are not the only ones in town in St. Louis at the beginning of next week. Our friends at ESPN will televise the Home Run Derby, a great event. That's Monday night at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. And then on Tuesday, we have the MLB Network bringing you the Red Carpet Show at 4 Eastern. The Red Carpet Show with the All-Stars arriving at Busch Stadium Tuesday, MLB Network, 4 Eastern. That'll be followed online at FoxSports.com with batting practice from Busch Stadium. It's at 4:30 Eastern, and then we roll the clock forward to 8 Eastern, 7 Central, 5 Pacific with the Pepsi All-Star pregame show. Here's a fly ball into right, gliding to it. To his left is Milton Bradley, 2 out. Thurston is 0 for 3. And there's the list. 4:30 Eastern, FoxSports.com, batting practice with the All-Stars. Pepsi All-Star pregame show will start at 7 Eastern, rather 8 Eastern, 7 Central, 5 Pacific, right here on Fox on Tuesday night, the 80th MLB All-Star game. And the first in St. Louis since 1966. Ryan into right center field, slicing to Bradley. That'll do it. Bottom of the 8th inning at Wrigley. All Ted Lilly today, leading the Cardinals 5-1. By Pepsi is sponsored by Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince in theaters everywhere. Wednesday, July 15th by Cataway and by Olive Garden. When you're here, your family. Blake Hawksworth is back to the hill, and his first to Soriano. And at the knees, strike one. Ted Lilly went in after that last half inning and was asked by his pitching coach Larry Rothschild if he had dinner reservations and if he wanted to finish what he started. And it looked like Ted Lilly's answer was yes. So because of that, the bullpen is empty. Well, not empty, but nobody's throwing. Soriano chops one foul. That's strike two.
If Ted Lilly does complete the game, it'll be his first complete game of the year.
On deck is Bradley. 1-2 pitch. Skips in there from Hawksworth, and Molina gets to show off the glove work again.
Cubs have one complete game this year by Sean Marshall, who's now in the bullpen.
That skips in again. Full count. Soriano has walked and scored, fly to center, and has an RBI single. Spoils it. We talked about that quote that he had, being upset that he wasn't in the lineup last Wednesday. And he got to the ballpark here yesterday and said he was actually thankful for the back-to-back days off, a chance to clear his head. As he's trying to figure it out at the plate. 3-2 delivery from Hawksworth. That's foul. The old day-night doubleheader on Sunday between these two clubs tomorrow, which is a deadly way to go into the All-Star break.
You think the Cubby Bear Bar will be busy tomorrow?
Man. And a swing and a miss on a ball in the dirt. Soriano is tagged out, and that's out number one of the eighth. DirecTV game break. Andy Pettit struggled, had a 4-1 lead. There's Bobby Abreu, former Yankee, singling to center to score Sean Figgins, and then the Angels just went off. Tie game 4-4. The Angels have scored 7 runs in the bottom of the 5th inning and lead 8-4 in the bottom of the 6th. They came off the deck last night and beat New York, and they're trying to do it again today. Here's Bradley, strike one. That's low, a ball and a strike. With one out, Bradley takes ball 2.
Yeah, the day-night doubleheader tomorrow. And then on Thursday, here at Wrigley Field, Elton John and Billy Joel, and then Eddie Money will be playing over at the Cubby Bear Bar. Wrigleyville will be jumping this week.
You know, the last time you and I were in this booth, we witnessed one of the great renditions of "Take Me Out to the Ball Game" by another singer. We know him as one of the great interviewers of our time, Larry King.
Yeah.
Here's a little floater into left, and that ball's going to drop for a 1-out base hit. Tim McCarver has a singing album that he will be selling and signing in St. Louis during Fan Fest on Sunday. And Larry King actually was given the CD and gave a review of your work. Since you appreciated so much how well he sang "Take Me Out to the Ball Game," Larry King then turned around and critiqued your work. Do you have
I didn't know that.
Do you have the guts to hear his critique?
Should I? Obviously, you've seen it.
Well,
I have not seen it, so yeah. Sure. I mean, what could he say? So it's, you know, good, bad, or indifferent.
Okay.
So
I'm your buddy. I'm your friend. Do you think that if it was a horrendous review, I would bring it up?
No, but I mean, kind of messing around. I mean, I'm not sure.
All serious and scared on me. 0-1 pitch is grounded to third. Foul. Should we do it here? Nah, let's wait till the out. That way, if there's a double play, you don't have to hear it because the inning will be over.
I can hear it between innings, maybe.
We have to do it after the batter because it's 25 seconds long.
Oh boy.
We apologize if we miss part of Coy Hill's at bat. Next, here you go. Larry King, take it away.
I just heard Tim McCarver sing. Where have you been all my life? Does Bob Gibson know this? Do the people at Fox know this? All right, let's do a duet. I'll do Take Me Out to the Ball Game. You do There Used to Be a Ballpark, and then we'll meld them together. McCarver, you've hidden this talent too long. Too long. A star is born.
Here's a ground ball base hit through the right side off the bat of Coy Hill. Stopping at second is Milton Bradley, and it's 2 on with 2 out. And Ted Lilly is going to be lifted for a pinch hitter. So Sam Fuld will come off the bench and bat for Lilly, whose day is over after 8 terrific innings here this afternoon. There he is. What'd you think? Did you like the review?
That was very nice. That was very nice.
I think it was heartfelt.
Larry. I do too. I do too. It's very nice.
And you'll be there tomorrow signing?
Yep.
In the place except you and me.
At least your music has to play us to break after Fuld does something here with 2 on and 2 out. Against Blake Hawksworth. They like this kid when he came up, was sent out. And the Cubs made all those roster moves when Aramis Ramirez came back. Guzman came back for the bullpen. Reed Johnson came off the disabled list. Fuld was squeezed back to AAA. But now he's back. He came up as the Cubs made it official today, putting Giovanni Soto on the disabled list. Marmol is the lone man standing in the bullpen for Chicago. It looks like he'll take over in the ninth. 1-1 the count with 2 on and 2 out. Lou Piniella and the Cubs needed this one today with their all-star on the mound, and they're 3 defensive outs away from getting it as Fuld almost beat that throw. Here's Tim. We go to the ninth.
Make it 1.
Go to the ninth. Andres Blanco takes over at second base. Sam Foltz stays in the game. He's in left. Soriano and Baker. Baker had a good game. Had that one defensive miscue, and that's it. Good day with a bat. They are finished, and Carlos Marmol is on the mound. 2-1. Decent ERA. A lot of walks, but great stuff. 2, 3, and 4 hitters. Rasmus, Pujols, and Ludwig, and there's a strike. It's 0-2. Ted Lilly was terrific. 8 innings, 1 run, 4 hits, 1 walk, 4 strikeouts, a balk, and he was in control from the start. Rasmus grounds to first. That's a fair ball, and that's out number 1. Time for the Just for Men hair color holds leaders. 2009 across baseball. Bobby Say of Detroit is leading the way. Marmol, Affeldt of San Francisco, 2 others tied with 17. Just as these pitchers keep their team in the game, you too can stay in the game with Just for Men hair color as Albert Pujols steps in and takes a strike on a 96-mile-an-hour fastball from Marmol. Pujols 1 for 3. Homered yesterday, leads baseball with 32. And he fights it off fair. That hit the line. Down the right field line, and Pujols will hold at first with a 1-out single.
Just a matter of Pujols overpowering that fastball inside. Kind of inside outs it right on the line. Good play by Bradley to hold Albert to a single.
Pujols didn't run out of the box. He was looking at that ball down the line and then had to kick it in. Almost went around first too far. A few steps watching it, but for the most part ran hard and then had that little thrill as he had to get back to the bag as Terrio almost threw in behind him. There's Ludwig, and there's ball 1 outside.
Yeah, 4 runs down in the 9th inning. You don't want to take any chances. You have to have that base-to-base type offense.
Chris Duncan has come into the on-deck circle. That's the pitcher's spot next. There's ball 2 that sinks down and into Ludwig. 2-0. One on, 1 out. 2-0 pitch. Breaking ball is a good one. 2-1. It's funny, but it's true. Sometimes pitchers can't control the fastball and they go to something else with better control. And the breaking ball has been good on the last couple. It's 2-2.
That is absolutely the truth. Sometimes your fastball, for a guy like Marmol, the ball's running too hard inside to the right-hander, so he resorts to the breaking ball, and fastball counts.
2-2 pitch, and Ludwig was fooled and just fought it off. There's another.
Of all the pitches that pitchers throw, the slider is the most comfortable pitch to throw. And perhaps that's the reason a lot of guys resort to that when they have to throw a strike.
The 2-2 inside. Right now Marmol, at least in this at bat, having a tough time with the fastball getting it over the plate. 3-2. Cardinals need 2 more base runners to have a chance here in the 9th inning. Pujols takes off, and Ludwig hits it down the left field line into the corner. It is foul. Give you a look at the Pepsi MLB clutch performer the month of June. Now, he's been virtually unhittable. He got into the 7th inning 2 nights ago with a no-hitter against San Diego. Then his teammate Tim Lincecum's teammate Jonathan Sanchez threw a no-hitter last night at the Padres. And during the month, 3 complete games, 2 shutouts.
That included 29 consecutive scoreless innings. He has been awesome.
And a foul tip. Pepsi, by the way, the official soft drink of Major League Baseball. To learn more about the MLB Clutch Performer of the Month award, go to PepsiClutch.com. to next Saturday after the All-Star game on Tuesday night. 3-2 pitch again, and a walk. So life for St. Louis here in the 9th inning, provided by Marmol now allowing the walk. And the closer for the Cubs, Kevin Gregg, will have to get loose. Cardinals are one base runner away from bringing the tying run to the plate after 8 dominant innings from Ted Lilly. Here's Kevin Gregg. Duncan fooled on that pitch. Strike one.
Once again, the slider. Whenever Marmol's slider goes down, it means he's on top of it. That's his best breaking ball.
There's strike two. Runners on at first and second, and a slow roller. Marmol throws to second, slipped, and out at second, safe at first. What a good play by Theriot to get that wide throw from Marmol, who slipped when he let it go.
Yeah, good play by Theriot. Bad choice by Marmol. Theriot held the bag in time. The throw to first not in time. That's a great play by Theriot. But you've got to take the sure out in that situation.
And a bad call at first base.
Yeah, that's true.
This game should be over. Now, ironically enough, after we see a replay of that, Tony La Russa is going to go out and argue about the call at second, while Lou Piniella is mad about the call at first base.
Have you ever seen this now? Two managers arguing the same play on the field together. Theriot did have the bag. That was a good call by second base umpire Marvin Hudson. Not so from Randy Marsh at first base. I have never seen this. Lou Piniella arguing with the first base umpire while Tony La Russa argues with the second base umpire.
Clearly out was Duncan, called safe. And again, this is no small issue. The Cardinals are one base runner away from being one swing away from tying this game.
Sure.
And Lou Piniella has some parting words for Angel Hernandez on his way back to the dugout.
The only umpire left out of that argument was Lance Barksdale at third.
Here's Molina. Two out, runners at first and third. Strike one. There's a good Marmol fastball. Defense has swung around to the right in the outfield. Left field corner is wide open. One ball, one strike. Line drive is off the glove of Theriot and into left to keep this game alive. Theriot stumbling from the beginning and did not catch that ball that it looked like caught some of his glove. And now the tying run will come to the plate. Schumacher will be the hitter.
I think that ball was hooking on Theriot toward the left field line. Could have been caught. Now the Cardinals get the potential tying run to the plate. If Schumacher is announced, we'll see if Lou Piniella makes the move to Sean Marshall.
He's got Kevin Gregg up in the bullpen.
Marshall was loose earlier, but Kevin Gregg is the only guy down there. You're right.
First and second with 2 out. Tying run at the plate. And a wild pitch sends the runners up to second and third. And that's it. Lou Piniella has seen enough. Marmol, for all the talent, cannot find the strike zone, and his lack of control. He has walked one in this inning, and now that wild pitch is the end of his day. Kevin Gregg will take over and try and end it. 2 on, 2 out, tying run at the plate. We come back to Wrigley. Pitch, and now Gregg in a save chance. Schumacher goes after the first one, fouls it back, counts 1-1. So a save opportunity for Kevin Gregg, who in his last 22 games has saved 9 games and 11 tries and an ERA of 1.57. First year as a Cub, second and third, 2 out, tying run at the plate. A 1-1. Strike 2. Struck him out. Game over. Chicago wins it.